Life after breaking something upstairs. I want to say that I needed to be taught what was the wrong thing to do. I could have listened to all the advice I heard my entire life, how drugs can ruin your life and all the terrible side effects. Without even putting any thought into it, I was using drugs every day as often as possible, and I didn't even seem to realize it was a problem. When I was at my worst, I remember experiencing the most surreal thoughts. I felt like I was losing my mind. I couldn't concentrate on anything except for things going on around me. It was like being trapped in a movie and all eyes were on me. For the life of me, I couldn't stop being distracted by intrusive thoughts. I wouldn't take anything out of daily interactions aside from paranoid ideas and thinking that I was being spied on. My life was put on hold to facilitate a skewed perception of reality. Nothing made sense, and I had no idea what had happened. Every action I made, I thought I was being judged. I feel like the hallucinations were so intense in my everyday life that it was all I was paying attention to. It would make sense that I closed my mind's eye, so that I didn't have to relive the horror in my head, and after having already witnessed it. It would make sense that I was protecting my sanity by not thinking about anything at all. I feel like the delusions I was going through would cause my mind to implant paranoid beliefs and old memories, possibly to solidify my bizarre suspicions. For instance, I would try to convince myself that my entire life I was being spied on, and make connections between coincidences that random events were not random, but pre planned and directed towards me. Perceiving the world around you doesn't have to be as difficult as you're making it out to be, as long as you're following some sort of guideline. I'm sure you didn't always need one, like you were able to naturally figure out the swing of things after being thrown into a situation after 10 minutes or so, after getting acquainted with everything. But things are different now. You don't have that quickly adapting mind anymore, and now you have to have a plan for everything. Hopefully not forever, but winging it might not be an option for you anymore. It's like I took a chance driving on an unfamiliar road and ended up someplace that doesn't exist besides nightmares. When you think it's time to start driving back home, you have another thing coming. You can't find your way out. Start by understanding that you are not always in this nightmare. You just did something you probably shouldn't have done. But how else would you find out what was going to happen? Maybe a drug induced brain damaged person is who you are meant to be in life. Or could it be this is just another life lesson? But it's like a lesson that's on repeat. Maybe because you broke something and you can't put it back together, or is it because you haven't learned the lesson you are forced to keep living? I think life is a series of lessons that we either remember and move on to the next, or we keep trying the same lesson until we die. And after we die, we take what we learned to the next life. If this is true, then could the struggles we face be there to help us? If you are in school angry that you have to learn something, it would make sense that you would be distracted by your anger and that you wouldn't learn what you're there for in the first place. Same would happen when you're going through a hard time in life and you're blaming everything but yourself for the root of the problem, or just being so depressed with how things are working out that you no longer look for the light at the end of the tunnel and just believe it's a myth. Seeing past the horrible parts of what life puts us through and understanding that it's just preparation for worse things to come might make things not seem so heavy. How can you handle even harder problems if you let the little ones break your spirit? You have a choice to think what you want. With me, something I did caused some very scary thoughts, and I may have found a way to see through them. Even if they are still there, I know I cannot trust that they are real, and that removes their power. The ability to decide what is right and wrong is a gift that is given to everyone with a human brain. When it becomes impossible to tell the difference, is it time to think a little harder about what is happening, or abandon all hope and believe whatever thought is most prevalent, illogical as it may be? I've read that congenitally blind people do not develop schizophrenia, and deaf people experience it by believing others are signing about them. Could this be an answer in disguise? Does this mean those of us who can see and hear are going to be at the mercy of our senses? When they go out of whack, are they no longer advantages we have to being alive on this planet, but now curses that make life impossible to live comfortably? It seems we are capable of becoming prisoners of what we see and hear, depending on whether or not we develop schizophrenia. Could it be, since blind people are not able to upload a video file into their brain, this makes it impossible for them to upload corrupted information? Since there is no visual delusion to be had, there can't be a hallucination to throw the mind into an altered reality. Could our eyes and ears end up becoming our worst nightmare? There is a quote, believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear. If you do this, would it be true that 50% of what you see isn't the truth before it even comes into your field of view? It is already 50% BS before it walks into your life. So are you judging what you see by 25% truth, 25% false? And I would have to assume that I am at least 50% wrong in the decisions I make in my life. Could I end up only seeing 12.5% truth? Does this mean that seeing isn't really believing? If a door-to-door salesman rings your bell in anticipation of selling you a bottle of cleaner, is he already half lying to you before you even open your door? You are already wrong in at least half of the decisions you make over the course of your lifetime. So what is the percentage of truth in what you are witnessing, and what is the likelihood you are making the right decision on what you're perceiving? Our memories are all we have to guide us in life. We literally record video with our eyes and save it to our brain. What happens when we lose recordings? Sometimes it feels like I can't find memories as well as I used to. Could I have damaged my mind's eye, lost my memories, or have I closed my mind's eye and I don't know how to open it again? I believe what is happening is similar to having a camera and DVR system. We are able to record video and save it to a hard drive with our eyes and brain. And then when we need to get through a certain life event, we replay what we had saved previously and use that same scenario to get through what we are dealing with. But what happens when we have damaged recordings, cannot access a playback feature, and are only working with live view? It would make sense that judging the world around you is going to be a lot harder if you can't access memories to remind you of what to expect. For example, if you had a business where your cameras record outside your store, and for the past 2 years, Monday through Friday, there's a homeless man that spends his mornings walking around your parking lot, you know what you think about this because you have the recordings. You are confident there is no threat. But what happens when you delete the recordings? Now when you see the homeless man, it's the first time you saw him, and your mind is working to figure out what he could be doing there. Where if you had saved the video files of him, you would be on to thinking about the next thing and not dwelling on a mundane event that holds no serious grip on your future. So what happens when you can't use your memories to guide you in life and you've closed your mind's eye? I know that not thinking about anything at all can completely detach you from what made you who you are. All you know is all you are. When you stop using what you know, what do you become? Could it be making it worse? When we close our minds off from replaying traumatic events, are we turning everything off, even the thoughts that were never harmful? Is this not allowing us to learn from the mistakes and judgment we are making? The end.